Hey, everyone. Welcome to Co-Fairy Tales English. If you're serious about improving your English, you're in the right place. Learning a language isn't just about studying, it's about daily practice. The more you listen, speak, and engage, the faster you'll improve. So, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because I'll be sharing tips, lessons, and real-life conversations to help you master English. Let's learn together, one step at a time. Now, let's get started. All I remember. When my father spoke to me, he always began the conversation with, "Have I told you yet today how much I adore you?" The expression of love was reciprocated, and in his later years, as his life began to visibly ebb, we grew even closer. If that were possible, at 82, he was ready to die, and I was ready to let him go so that his suffering would end. We laughed and cried and held hands and told each other of our love and agreed that it was time. I said, "Dad, after you've gone, I want a sign from you that you're fine." He laughed at the absurdity of that. Dad didn't believe in reincarnation. I wasn't positive I did either, but I had had many experiences that convinced me I could get some signal from the other side. My father and I were so deeply connected, I felt his heart attack in my chest at the moment he died. Later, I mourned that the hospital, in their sterile wisdom, had not let me hold his hand as he had slipped away. Day after day, I prayed to hear from him, but nothing happened. Night after night, I asked for a dream before I fell asleep. And yet 4 long months passed, and I heard and felt nothing but grief at his loss. Mother had died 5 years before of Alzheimer's, and though I had grown daughters of my own, I felt like a lost child. One day, while I was lying on a massage table in a dark, quiet room waiting for my appointment, a wave of longing for my father swept over me. I began to wonder if I had been too demanding in asking for a sign from him. I noticed that my mind was in a hyperacute state. I experienced an unfamiliar clarity in which I could have added long columns of figures in my head. I checked to make sure I was awake and not dreaming, and I saw that I was as far removed from a dreamy state as one could possibly be. Each thought I had was like a drop of water disturbing a still pond, and I marveled at the peacefulness of each passing moment. Then I thought, I've been trying to control the messages from the other side. I will stop that now. Suddenly, my mother's face appeared. My mother, as she had been before Alzheimer's disease had stripped her of her mind, her humanity, and 50 pounds. Her magnificent silver hair crowned her sweet face. She was so real and so close I felt I could reach out and touch her. She looked as she had a dozen years ago, before the wasting away had begun. I even smelled the fragrance of joy, her favorite perfume. She seemed to be waiting and did not speak. I wondered how it could happen that I was thinking of my father, and my mother appeared, and I felt a little guilty that I had not asked for her as well. I said, "Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry that you had to suffer with that horrible disease." She tipped her head slightly to one side, as though to acknowledge what I had said about her suffering. Then she smiled, a beautiful smile, and said very distinctly, "But all I remember is love." And she disappeared. I began to shiver in a room suddenly gone cold, and I knew in my bones that the love we give and receive is all that matters and all that is remembered. Suffering disappears. Love remains. Her words are the most important I have ever heard, and that moment is forever engraved on my heart. I have not yet seen or heard from my father, but I have no doubts that someday, When I least expect it, he will appear and say, "Have I told you yet today that I love you?" Vocabulary notes. Reciprocated. Verb, to give or feel something in return. Example, she smiled at him, and he reciprocated with a warm hug. Explanation, he responded to her smile with a hug, showing mutual affection. Ebb. Verb, to gradually weaken or disappear. Example, as the sun set, the waves began to ebb away from the shore. Explanation, the waves were retreating just as the father's life was fading. Absurdity. Noun, something unreasonable or ridiculous. Example, the idea that he could finish a week's work in one day was pure absurdity. Explanation, the task was unrealistic, just as the father thought asking for a sign after death was. Reincarnation. Noun, the belief that a soul returns to a new body after death. Example, some religions teach that people undergo reincarnation after they die. Explanation, the narrator's father did not believe in the soul coming back in another form. Mourned. Verb, to feel deep sadness over a loss. Example, she mourned the loss of her childhood pet for many years. Explanation, the narrator deeply grieved the passing of his father. Sterile. Adjective, lacking warmth and emotion. Overly clean. Example, the hospital room felt cold and sterile, without any personal touch. Explanation, the narrator felt the hospital's strict environment prevented a meaningful farewell. Longing. Noun, a deep desire or emotional need for something. Example, he felt a strong longing to return to his childhood home. Explanation, the narrator desperately wanted a connection with his father. Hyperacute. Adjective, extremely sharp or focused. Example, his hyperacute senses allowed him to hear even the faintest whispers. Explanation, the narrator felt his mind become unusually clear and sharp. Marvel. Verb, to be filled with wonder or admiration. Example, they marveled at the beauty of the sunset over the ocean. Explanation, the narrator was amazed by the peacefulness he felt. Fragrance. Noun, a pleasant smell. Example, the fragrance of fresh roses filled the room. Explanation, the narrator could smell his mother's favorite perfume, making the experience more real. Stripped. Verb, to remove something completely. Example, the storm stripped the trees of their leaves. Explanation, Alzheimer's disease had taken away the mother's mind and physical health. Magnificent. Adjective, beautiful, grand, or impressive. Example, the castle stood magnificent on the hill, overlooking the valley. Explanation, the narrator described his mother's hair as stunning and grand. Engraved. Verb, to be permanently fixed in memory or carved into something. Example, the moment was engraved in her heart forever. Explanation, the narrator will always remember his mother's final words. Expect. Verb, to anticipate or believe something will happen. Example, She didn't expect to see him after all these years. Explanation: the narrator believes his father will appear when least expected. Remains. Verb/noun. To continue to exist or to be left behind. Example: after the storm, only the foundation of the house remains. Explanation: suffering disappears, but love continues to exist. Thank you for watching. Party Popper, if you enjoyed this video and want to improve your English through stories, real-life topics, podcasts, and audiobooks, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Books Headphone, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on new content that makes learning fun and exciting. Join our community, challenge yourself, and take your English to the next level. See you in the next video. Rocket Sparkles.